Welcome to Loud and Lifted. I'm your host, Betsy Ham. This quick lift comes from my conversation with leadership coach, podcast host, and author Lyndsay Dowd. She's all about heart-centered leadership, prioritizing authenticity, integrity, and openness over power plays. We talk about what she calls career security, not just job security, and creating cultures where leaders lift their people up instead of micromanaging them into burnout. Today, I'm giving you the highlights, real talk, and action steps you can use right away to build your brand, expand your influence, and lead with trust. Let's get into the key takeaways and action items. First up, build your career security, not job security. Your title or company are not your safety net. It's your skills and your reputation that are. We talked about during this episode how back in the day and even during Lyndsay's career, people spend 20, 30 plus years at the same company. And the reality is it just doesn't happen today like it used to back in the day. So you have to think about how you're building your skills and your reputation that can perpetuate outside of your current company. I can certainly relate to this. And I talked about this during the episode. It felt like everything I did was attached to my past job at Duck. Now, of course, being the CEO in a male-dominated industry gave me the opportunity to get exposure and to build my brand. And I did realize at one point that I needed to focus on building my own personal brand, that it wasn't just always about the donuts per se. So no matter what level you're at or what company you're at, you have to think about how are you building your skills and your reputation that if you end up by chance to be at the same company for 20 years, amazing and awesome, but you're probably still going to want future and further opportunities. But what if you do look for a future opportunity somewhere else? You have to have that reputation and those skills that are what you're known for. So the action item here is ask yourself, what are you known for? And then work on amplifying that. The biggest way to do this, of course, is from a LinkedIn perspective. Nearly every profession is on LinkedIn. So think about how you're putting out content, when you're putting out content, and how you're maybe casually or passively promoting yourself too, not just the company that you work for. Because build your brand before you need it. Takeaway number 2, exposure is everything. It's not enough to impress your boss. Seek conversations outside your reporting chain. Exposure builds perspective, mentors, and opportunities. Now, we couldn't have timed Lyndsay's episode to be any better than being right after Linda's episode. If you have not listened to Linda Strange's episode, you need to. It's all about PI, your performance, image, and exposure. And Lyndsay reinforced that again with that building your career security, not your job security, and then the exposure piece. She talked about asking for meetings or calls with people who are outside your reporting structure. And I understand that this isn't necessarily accepted at every company or in different cultures of companies, but it's worth an ask. Ask if you can meet with somebody outside of your current reporting structure, whether it's somebody at a higher level or maybe it's someone in a different department, but get that exposure to people outside of your current department. And again, this is twofold, right? Maybe you get to learn about a department that you have potential interest in the future. It gives you that opportunity to build exposure and talk about what you've been working on. And it just gives you that opportunity to shine. So your action item here is book one coffee chat this week. It can be virtual. It can be in person, which is even better, but do it with somebody outside your team who inspires you. Learn how they lead and let them learn who you are. And if this isn't something that's really embraced within your company, then seek somebody outside your company. Again, we've said it before, but LinkedIn is a great place to make those connections. And if it's just setting up a 15, 20-minute virtual coffee chat, you're still going to make some new introductions, meet someone new, learn about what they do, and let them learn about what you do. Next, trust is your currency as a leader. Micromanaging kills growth. Great leaders inspire, protect, and give people the space to shine. That's so important. I'm going to say it again, but great leaders inspire, protect, and give people the space to shine. That's such a great line. And I have some friends in my life who deal with some micromanaging right now, and listening to their stories, it gives me major anxiety. Luckily, I never had a boss who was that severe of a micromanager. But if you are an employee who is being micromanaged by your boss, you really need to take a step back and maybe have that conversation and figure out how you can build that trust. Because the reality is it comes down to trust. So if you are the manager and you have people on your team, you need to take a step back and realize, have you been building trust with your team members? If you're micromanaging, you are not. You are not building trust with them. They do not trust you. You do not trust them. It's a horrible relationship. And while you may feel like you're in control of what's happening, you're actually killing productivity and you're killing their desire to want to do better and to be productive, because you're basically telling them that you don't think they're good at their job. So I strongly encourage you, if you are a manager, to take a step back and really evaluate this. This is a really good action item here is, if you're a manager, ask your team one simple question. How can I be the best leader for you? Which is great to ask, but then listen and act on it. And, Lyndsay talked about having employees or team members reporting to you is sort of like the parents' mindset, right? If you have kids, you know that you have to treat each one of your children differently. How you motivate them, how you discipline them, how you support them. Of course, it's just human nature. Everyone's different. And that same exact mindset has to be used at work. You cannot treat all of your team members the same. So take a step back, ask the hard question, make sure you get a real answer. And if you don't, it's because you don't have trust amongst your team, and then move forward. The last takeaway, power skills over soft skills. Communication, delegation, empathy, recognition. These aren't soft skills. Lyndsay says they're so important. They're power skills, and they're what make leaders magnetic. During our conversation, Lyndsay and I talked a lot about, of course, delegation, and that obviously ties into the trust that you have as a leader or a manager with your team, and making sure you're delegating appropriately and giving someone that opportunity to shine. That's your job, is to help them to succeed. The other thing that we talked a lot about is recognition, and I love to talk about recognition. I think it's so important. Lyndsay gave the example of a vice president who had a sales team, and she would leave little post-it notes when she heard that they had a really great call, just saying, hey, great job, awesome, congrats for closing the deal, whatever it was. But it was just a little post-it note. And when the leader of the department started doing that, that was great. That really set the precedence and created this culture of positivity. And other team members started doing it too. They started leaving it for each other. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to recognition. The formal recognition programs that a lot of big corporate organizations have, that's great. That's awesome. We need that. But it's really those little moments where you get to recognize somebody, and maybe it's a text or an email. At Duck, we used to have a shout out board where you'd recognize anybody for doing something really awesome. Maybe it was big or small, but it was our opportunity to share. It made that person feel really good. And it helped for other team members to know just what was going on. Who doesn't love to read good news? So this doesn't have to be something that only managers or leaders do. This is something no matter what level you're in. How can you recognize your peers from a better standpoint? It just builds a positive culture. And when you have that positive culture, that helps to continue to perpetuate the optimistic, positive work, and it makes people excited. It makes people want to do better, and you're going to grow from a productivity standpoint. Action item, celebrate someone on your team today. Send the text, write the note, acknowledge the win. Small celebrations create big culture shifts. And side note, a handwritten note is amazing. So if somebody does something really awesome, send them a handwritten note. When's the last time you got one? Lyndsay reminds us leadership isn't about holding power. It's about giving it away. Build your brand, grow your network, trust your people, and lead with power skills that actually matter. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend and follow along on Instagram for more leadership advice. And if you haven't listened to my full episode with Lyndsay, go check it out now. It's a masterclass in leadership done right. Until next time, stay loud, stay lifted, and lead with heart.